You're gonna have to.
And we are back at Whitman Winter Baltimore Expo 2025.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everybody.
Oh my
and
God.
we are joined this morning by the boss, the guy who puts this thing on. He is the head at Gray Sheet, the boss at Whitman, and our host for this show. Please welcome John Albanese.
Not John Albanese.
No.
My
God. John Feigenbaum. I'm sorry. John, I'm so sorry.
Slip.
That was a Freudian slip.
Did you go out late last night or something, buddy?
I went out, but I didn't go out that far.
Now you started that off with a bang.
I did start that off with a bang. Well, now we're always going to have something to remember this by.
John
I actually never. I don't have the hair to be
I was
confused.
Has that ever happened to you before?
No, never.
Okay.
No. But it's good. It's good company.
Okay.
You know,
I was going to say
where it is.
that's where it is.
If that's where it is in the frontal lobe, that I've made John Albanese's status in life.
In my mind, you have.
Right.
So
that's a winning mistake. I mean, you could have definitely said worse. But
yes,
but
I could have, and I probably have.
Thank you guys for having me. That's awesome, and I'm so glad you guys come. Even more awesome. But I will just correct you in saying that I don't put this thing on. I'm the CEO of Whitman Brands,
name only.
Which we now have a wonderful portfolio of things, and thanks to this acquisition of Whitman, we were CDN Publishing, Gray Sheet, then we acquired Whitman, and with Whitman comes Whitman Expo, and the team
that puts this on.
Well, right, led by Lori Kraft, and all I can do is say to you, I stay out of her way, right? I mean,
she's amazing.
She's amazing.
She is amazing.
She's a fireball of energy, and
former A&A governor, and just an absolute fireball.
I prefer the term absolute monster because she is.
Yeah. Yes. And so I don't want to even pretend that I get credit for the effort that is made at this show, except for I come. And that's, and for me, that's not the easiest thing always, but I'm here 3 times a year. I really don't go to a lot of coin shows anymore. I didn't even attend A&A Summer this year, but I'm not going to miss Whitman Expo because Lori puts in such an effort.
Well, this is a great show every single year. I mean,
Well, it was I think better yesterday. I think our opening day, Thursday opener, I don't have any kind of numbers, but I would say it was about the busiest day I've seen it at Baltimore in years.
And that might have to do with the sales tax nexus that the convention center has.
It didn't hurt.
Because didn't the state of Maryland actually either bring back sales tax on?
So what happened was that sunset, right? In the I guess in legislative terms, they call that sunsetting. You get a bill, you get your tax relief for coin sales, and as far as I know, that had been around as long as I was like 20 years or something. I don't know when we did have sales tax in the state of Maryland. So all of a sudden, the state was in a shortfall, and they do it like they give like 1 week's notice and tell the legislature, by the way, we're doing a whole bunch of tax repeals. Why? Who are these coin dealer people? Like, what do we care?
Yeah.
Why is that in there? They're looking at auto part sales. They're looking at school districts, anything to get money.
Sure. Yeah, they're looking at revenue.
And they're looking for revenue, and they just see a line item list on a spreadsheet that says, sales tax for coins, and then the tax department then comes up with an estimate, unwittingly, and I say unwittingly because they think, oh, there's $1 billion, $200 million worth of bullion sales in the state of Maryland every year. That's a lot of tax we're giving away. They don't know.
You will chase it out of
until you talk to the tax department. And I did this in Virginia, so I have the same bill in Virginia that I passed, and I talked to many legislators to explain to them. I can order coins from the U.S. Mint without tax.
Right.
Well, why would I go to my coin shop in Frederick, Maryland?
Right.
But they don't know those things unless you talk to them, and that is a big effort.
Unforeseen consequences.
So what happened there is at the last minute, they said, well, we're going to repeal this whole coin dealer sales tax thing. And we do have a lobbyist. And luckily, this lobbyist also lobbies for the Convention Center of Baltimore, Maryland.
There you go.
So this is how, with basically 4 days notice, he's able to whisper in enough ears, say, listen, all right, we're not going to fight for the state of Maryland because that's just a bigger, ball of wax than we can swallow, but we will. Can you just help us out with my two constituencies?
Just give us
because you know how it works in government. It's like, hey man, I did you that deal on that, and trust me, you're not losing money here. You're getting all these hotel rooms sold. Everybody's paying for parking. All the things that help a city of Baltimore.
Yep.
And we are huge supporters of the city of Baltimore. There's always, it's like every city. It's got great stuff. It's got stuff that isn't great, but it needs tourism dollars. They need us here, and they've been good to us all these years. The convention center people are so good to Lori. It's not easy. Everyone says, why don't you just have the convention in such and such, move it to Virginia, or I get that all the time, and I'm just like, you don't understand. There's two factors there. You don't understand. You can't go convention center shopping.
Right.
That
especially after so many years.
The infrastructure doesn't exist every place.
Well, it's not even just the infrastructure, but let's say you could find a convention center near Dulles or or wherever, or Gaylord up in DC, which is a place I love. I love the Gaylord Hotel. It's like everybody would stay in the same building. The show would be in there, it would be perfect, right? But they don't have availability for like 7 years, But other than that, and then it just throws a curveball to everybody. All these coin dealers that are here, we have as many as 1,000 different dealers in this room yesterday. 1,000 coin dealers in the room, probably the same number of collectors. So 1,000 dealers, 1,000 collectors. Making up number on the attendance, but everybody knows how to get in and out of this place.
Yes.
And actually, it's very easy to get in and out of Baltimore.
Super easy.
You're basically on 95. You're like, they're on 95. Oh,
yep.
There I drive.
Inner Harbor.
I drive
here. There.
But you could fly from BWI, and it's 20 minutes by cab. It's an easy cab.
Yep.
Everything about getting here is known and easy.
Yes.
So that's why we don't move things.
Yeah.
So we're here.
It isn't broke. Why fix it?
It ain't broke. And the city of Baltimore is trying their darndest. They really are trying to improve in every way. So we're big supporters.
I come from Chicago, so it's like I'm used to a little bit more of an urban environment. I will tell you, Baltimore's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's clean.
Right.
It's actually, the people are friendly.
Yeah. These cities have challenges. We know that.
Yes.
I mean, Philadelphia, New York, go up and down
Chicago.
the East Coast,
all of them.
Charlotte, wherever you want to go, there's different factors.
You pack in enough people.
That's right.
There will be problems.
That's right. I mean, I like doing shows in Philadelphia as an example of somewhere very close to here. But the problem with Philadelphia is it's way too expensive. Like union, everything, and we can't afford, and tax. So they have the tax, like 6-8%. I think maybe it's 8%, some crazy number. And there's huge union fees, so we can't do Philly just on the surface of something like that. You might argue Wilmington, Delaware. I'm getting in the weeds now, but now we're getting to Wilmington.
Yeah, we're in Wilmington now. We might as well keep going.
Let's go to Wilmington. Hey,
Fort Wayne, Indiana. Let's do it.
I don't know if Wilmington would like hearing that they were being compared to Fort Wayne. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know what the competitive nature is of such things.
I know Fort Wayne just took a shot.
I don't know. I honestly, I can't defend either town. I can't defend either town.
Well,
but yeah, Indiana. What's going on with Indiana today? It's like everybody's wearing Hoosiers shirts, and I mean, what's going on?
It's all they have.
You surround yourself with Hoosiers.
It's all they have.
It's all they have.
No, it's definitely not.
They
all
bicycle
they have.
riding, right? Wasn't that the movie?
Breaking Away.
Breaking Away.
It's a great movie.
There's a movie called Hoosiers that is one of the best movies in history. I think you guys are all forgetting about.
That's right. I did see that movie.
Yeah,
that was.
I think Gene Hackman was it. Barbara
May
Hershey.
he rest in peace. May he rest in peace.
I own one of the rings from the original team that movie
from
was
the
based
Milan.
on.
You do? From the Milan team.
One of the original championship rings. Yep.
Wow. What's that worth? Throw a number on it.
It's the only one available. Then there's the only other example that still doesn't belong to the families is in the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame.
Right.
So probably 25 to 50. I would say.
Gray sheet 25. CPG 30.
There you go. Well, speaking of which, let's switch gears a little bit and stuff and move on to the CDN, the gray sheet side of things.
Okay.
And I've had a common theme this whole show that I've brought up to everyone, and that is technology.
Oh, goodness.
And where are we going? Where are we headed with technology? The industry.
Okay.
And your little segment of the industry is what I'm curious about here, because I say little segment, but you have been one of the people that has used technology for many years. I mean, you're famous for having the numbers not necessarily extrapolated, but you're very good with the numbers and keeping track of everything. And what kind of technology do you see changing things in this industry anytime soon?
100%. Technology is critical to the industry, and interestingly, I think technology is finally coming to this industry.
Yes.
And I've actually been. So thank you for the question. Actually,
Sure.
I would probably think I'm more qualified to talk on this than anybody in the room.
And that's why I asked the question.
This is my thing, and it's always been my thing. So what happened was I graduated college. I'd been a coin show kid with my dad my whole life. But when I graduated college, I certainly had no intention of being a coin dealer. I was kind of I was a marketing major. I was just going to do marketing stuff. In 1990, I was into desktop publishing, and I was like, that was my thing. I was really excited, and I did that for a couple of years. I even had coin dealers as clients. Like I would do ads for people for Coin World. Like I would do the layouts. Back then, nobody had desktop publishing,
right?
So I could make, I would charge a guy like $300 to do his ad. Yeah. Send me you couldn't even say a Word file because people didn't even use it was like a typewriter. So anyway, I came into the business with I finally, after a couple of years marketing with my dad and doing his layouts and things, I said, Dad, I like this coin business better than what I thought I was wanting to do, like going out and getting clients, doing menus for restaurants, which is my client base and things like that, business cards. I was like, I would rather build my own business with the marketing that I'm thinking of, that I'm having trouble even talking other people into doing. Right? I'm trying to sell you marketing. You're like, I'm skeptical. I don't know.
Well, I can't say that coin dealers traditionally have been the most open-minded. Well,
everybody is, especially back in 1990.
Right.
Everybody did their thing. So I said, I want to do what I think is going to work. And so my dad, to his credit, was like, that's son, I would love to work with you. So anyway, I joined him, and I had also was programming in DBase at that time, which was like the early predecessor to, let's say, Oracles and things like that. Or and so I was like, Dad, you like talking on the phone. You're the coin weenie. He would talk about barber half dollars with people for 2 hours, drive me crazy. To sell a coin for $38 at a good day. And so I was like, his AR, his receivables was on index cards. He had a little Rolodex of index cards. He's like, he would like scratch out, the guy owes me $72, and then he would scratch it, with a date. And then it's like, okay, he scratched that out. Like a month later, he sent me $15. So, and that was how the AR worked, and there was no database of customers. So I said, let me do this with this business. And that, like I said, that was 1990-ish, 92. And also at that time, grading was now 6 years old, 86.
Yeah.
We're finally getting to grading had already peaked and crashed. And now you had a second growth. It's like when the forest burns down and there's the new growth.
Yes.
This is where the business was slabbing in 1992. You had and I was like, Dad, I love this slabbing. And he's like, why don't anybody tell me what a VF barber half looks like? And so I was like, but I can't scan it. I can't put it in my database, all this other stuff. So I started building a database in 1992 for coins.
Wow.
So this was the predecessor for really what would become Graysheet. But at the time I did it for David Lawrence Rare Coins.
Sure.
And David Lawrence Rare Coins became, we grew amazingly between 92 and 2010 because we had better technology than everybody in this room except for one company.
And I think that's what a lot of people miss is if you look around these shows, you see the old guys that are literally like when they sell something, they peel a sticker off of it and they stick it on their on their sheet, and then they're right next to it so that they can go back and put it in their paper notes at the office. And then you see the guys that have the laptops, have the scanners, have the phones that they're using to do business with. And I think it's a stark contrast. And I think that the companies that tend to embrace the technology are ones that are growing today, and the ones that are stagnant and not embracing technology, I think, are the ones that just tend to kind of keep on keeping on.
We call that scale, right? I mean, you can't scale your business if you're the single source of information, number one, Like everything's in my head. I know who the customers are. I'll figure it out. Or if it's in the database. So I was saying that there was only one company, my tiny old David Lawrence Show coins, and there was one company that had better tech than us at that time.
And who was that?
Heritage.
Was
And
that
that was
would have
Jim
been my
Halpern.
guess.
And that was, and I wouldn't call him a mentor because he certainly didn't know that I didn't know that I needed one, and he didn't know that I would be one. But I would, Jim was, people might not remember, but in back in those days when Heritage was sort of mid-size, Jim was at the front of the table as the main buyer. So you have like a Stoucher like there now.
Yeah, sure.
But Jim Halpern was the guy looking at every coin. You would go up with boxes of coins, and Greg Rohan said this yesterday. That was Jim. And Jim. So I would sit there, and he was like, "Oh, look at this cute little rascal, young guy who thinks barbers are cool." And he would talk to me, and he would I'd show him boxes, so you get half an hour of conversation. I got half an hour of conversation at a QDB in those days. Mm-hmm. All the people I showed coins to were my mentors because there was no next gen program of young people. Yep. Nope, I was the only young guy. Jason Carter's like about a year behind me, and he was super genius, Jason Carter.
Sure.
But we didn't have any other peers to learn from. And so anyway, so Heritage steps up with the technology when no one else was doing it, and they went all in. And maybe that's why I also went all in or whatever. But I was like, Microsoft Bill Gates went all in 1996. He's like, we're going to this thing called the internet. And I said, Dad, we're going to this thing called the internet.
And what did your dad say?
He was like, in 1996, he was sort of like, John's a caged in animal. I gotta let him breathe. You gotta let him. You gotta let him push the boundaries.
Sure.
And I think he's not here to tell us, but I think he just kind of was trying to keep me from flying the coop because I was so energetic about I was young.
It's hard. It's hard.
He wanted to be the guy. Like Jack Beamer was a famous guy until recently for always having a million but all raw coins.
Yep.
All raw coins, all correctly graded. And that was my dad. My dad just wanted to, he wanted to book up, Barber has VF plus, rim bruised, lightly cleaned on the reverse.
He liked what he did, and he did what he liked,
and he didn't
that was
care
it.
To be modernized.
Yeah.
It wasn't. He didn't wake up going, I want to scale. He was just like, if I can make a living buying and selling coins. He had been a university professor, and he didn't get tenure, so he's he's an associate professor, and 10 years, they're like, get out of here. Your 10 years are up. No tenure for you. You don't have a job. And we've been doing coin shows on the weekends. So he had very little confidence that he could make a living. And so I joined him right about a year after that. And he was like, son, I don't know that we can make a living doing it. I don't know that we can both do it. And I said, Dad, I think we can.
Let's give it a try.
All right. He was like, sure. So when I come to him and I'm like, hey, I want to modernize everything. And he was like, okay, just let me have my coffee. So this is my father's. He always had a coffee in his hand, like I did.
Let me have my coffee and look at some coins. You just go do what you need to do.
Right.
It's amazing to me though that if you look at the birth of the internet and when that happened, and if you look at the age of dealers, there seems to be a break for about 10 years where now we're starting to get a bigger influx of young people into the hobby, bigger influx of young dealers into the hobby.
Absolutely.
And that I think is one of our biggest strengths going forward.
And they're coming in with a technology.
Yes.
Not, and I don't even really know that I fully answered your question, but young people are coming in not as much with the technology, and I will answer your question because it'll help this, but because they're using tools that we don't know how to use. I do not know. First of all, I don't use Instagram. I'm like, the most I do is Reddit at this point. I pop on Facebook for 7 seconds a day. I don't know how to sell on there. You know what I mean? I don't know what that means in commerce, but obviously, you can commerce on WhatsApp. Yep. You can, and they're doing
there are
it.
There are people that live stream on platforms that aren't meant for live stream sales. Like there are guys that live stream sell on Instagram.
That's right.
And
that's
okay.
So that's great. So young people are wonderful for any business, any industry, because they're going to come in with perspectives. Young people understand how to use. My son, who's 22, 1 year out of college, knows how to use AI in a way that I know when I hang out with him, right? He explains things. It's not just about, cheating on essays. I mean, AI will, if you want to write a web page that says, hey, display 8 videos from YouTube links into a page and put in bold lettering at the top, and it'll code it like, code. Here's your code, snip it in.
It's insane.
It's insane. And so you have to know about things like that. And we need to know about that in the publishing business, of course.
Yeah.
So we have to modernize Whitman. But what you were asking, how is technology impacting or not this industry? And what's happening is we are finally, and it's a fun thing to talk about, we've been working for a year or so on getting what's called an API of gray sheet information, so that like let's say in your shop you have a great little database of 4,000 coins. You've done the work, you've got them in, you got all the slabs, and you're like, man, it is really a pain in the butt for me to run to see like when gray sheet changes on my coins.
Yeah.
And every day I go where you go to a show and you have a staff and you're like, hey, I want to make sure you don't underprice a coin. How much of a miracle would it be if I just had a printout that showed me what moved?
Yeah.
Or where my cost is less than gray sheet or more than gray sheet.
Or if I scan it into my POS program, that it pulls up whatever current bid is.
That's right, and helps you price it.
Yep.
What if and you could write a little thing like if CPG retail price is greater than cost times 1.2, that's the list. Then fine, go with the list price or whatever you do. So there's Mr. Albanese, by the way.
Speaking of which, your twin.
You
prominently mentioned.
You need to come back here for 1 second. We're live.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we're live.
But I was referred
You're
to as John
prominently
Albanese
mentioned.
in the beginning of this podcast.
My cat
And I'm never. I had a brain fart.
So, they are.
Oh, great! Here we
have the
go.
same hair.
Yeah, we have the same
Here
hair.
we go.
So
Oh
come
my
into the
gosh.
frame. Your chin is showing.
Well, he's next after you, by the way.
He is
so.
next.
You're old. We need to get you.
I'm 11 o'clock, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the preview of the 11 o'clock podcast.
But we were.
Are you giving out like free grading certificates or something?
If you want me to.
It's your podcast.
Yeah. We were actually just talking about how technology is changing the industry and where we see it going in the next few years. So maybe we can have that conversation.
Yeah, I
here
think
a
it's
little bit
something
as
that we'll
well.
touch on
Sure.
with you as well.
But you
Either
might.
one, no.
It's been kind of a current theme.
Just remember, I have an AOL email address,
Yes.
so I'm really good at this.
And that's true.
Okay. That's
I would
okay.
say statistically that there's more AOL users as coin
I see
collectors
it.
than any
Yahoo.com,
other demographic in
AOL.com.
the
I
country.
see it all the time. I see it, and you're not wrong, but it's and that's why I'm asking a large selection of people that I find interesting and influential where they see the market going, what they see happening, because it's awesome to have that different set of eyes on each part of what I see myself and what maybe the other
Just a
listeners see.
different perspective, a different point of view on it. Maybe there's something that we can see that we've never seen before.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's exactly
But
right.
so we're talking about this API, and our initial client for the API is CAC Grading. So John is the president
Perfect.
or you're the CEO
Right, Ron's-
of CAC Grading, and so CAC and Whitman Graysheet have been intimate since their founding about providing foundational software. How all the numbers on CAC slabs are the GSID numbers.
Okay.
So now if you buy a red book, when you buy your red book
Yeah, the
or any other
GSID
book
numbers.
from Whitman, it's going to have this GSID, and immediately you can go to our
And
website. Hopefully,
is that this year or last year that those?
starting with the 26, which
Yes.
is
Oh, okay.
That
yeah,
the
which
current.
feels like this year's or last year's, but it was like 5 years ago.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Just kidding. But anyway, so we're trying to make this numbering system universal. It same numbering system for paper money, U.S. coins, world paper money, universal number. So then, and so you go to our website to look up values and maybe background information, and then every company, your company, CAC, I don't care who uses it, right? Everybody is available, but the API is like the plug in the wall that says how you go to your program and you're like, how can I get the gray sheet identifier system when I type in 1901S quarter, what
Right.
coin number that is? It's PCGS 5630 and it's GSID 7943.
And NGC doesn't have a number, and CAC is using the
They
gray
do
sheet
actually.
ID. Do they?
We're working on. I actually have.
Theirs is hidden. It's
hidden.
Well,
embedded.
yes, I mean,
embedded.
it's
But
not public for us to know.
But it will be soon because it's not that they don't want it to be known. So I work with the IT teams at every company, whether it's Stacks or Heritage. I'm intimate with them. How do we give you our information, but also how do we democratize that information so that every coin dealer can also have it? We're not trying to give anyone an unfair advantage. We just want to pay a little bit of a toll meter, right?
Right.
Pay us a toll. That's how, that's kind of like Google Maps, right?
Sure.
Anybody can put Google Maps on their site, and you pay Google like a fraction of a penny to get it. And that's all.
Do we pay Google Maps?
Yeah, you have to, yeah.
Oh, I thought the advertisers paid them.
No,
I
Google,
didn't know that.
Google. Like if you have a little thing, like we have a dealer directory
Right.
or an events directory, and there's a Google Map. There's an API, and you got to register and
Okay.
put your credit card in,
Yeah.
and that's fair because it's not that we probably use it much, but there's some companies that would definitely
Oh, I see.
overuse
like,
it,
like
Yeah.
Uber or something.
right?
Yeah.
Or
And they
or even scammers. You have to. It's kind of. I mean, that's the problem we have is we want to give you this data, but the reason it's taking a year to do the API is because how do I know you're not going to download my whole catalog?
right.
and,
How,
like,
you're
all
gonna
of a
crawl
sudden
it and have
crawl
my whole
and-
everything.
and that's really scary. Actually, that is a very scary part of technology.
yeah.
Is keeping it close.
Yes, because we all want to be able to share it so that we can use it, and the innovators are always
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you mind if I got up?
No,
Yeah,
please.
we'll see you here in a little
We'll
bit.
see you in a half
Yeah,
hour.
that's later.
I mean, look, right about there, you're not be hurt.
All right.
The real John Albany's, everybody.
That's- I can
But
see how we're
technology is-
mistaken, though. Coach, we look the same.
But the technology is something that we kind of embrace in the fact that there are a lot of people out there playing with it. A lot of the technology that's coming out is relatively inexpensive, is easy to use, and people play with it and experiment with it in different ways and then develop new ways of using
That's
it.
right. Well, that's the other thing about these young people, right? So now you find this 17-year-old kid who's just a whiz at programming and using AI in ways like, whatever you could use in AI next week could be different than this week.
Sure.
And they know, and someone like that is paying attention and then says, John, guess what? I just used your API to, create blah, 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 blah. I don't know. And we, we're dinosaurs already. So we're the dinosaurs. I love this idea that we give out tools and see what the world will develop. The funniest thing, just on this technology. So, and we're trying to get this out to coin dealers, and we're not really marketing the API because I already have like 15 people who I keep saying next week, and but there's never been, to my knowledge, a satisfactory collection management tool made in the coin collecting world. Like there's
Collection management?
Well, like there's registry sets,
Sure.
but there's not. Imagine a world where somebody created a piece of software that is just amazing at helping you track your coin collection, even if it's all certified or close. Everything we track, we have proof sets, we have mint sets, we got everything. So we now give you all the data to make that collection management tool. Whereas that wasn't available to anybody, but maybe if you had,
And you can
PCGS
develop it as you wish.
because and it also should be universal so that the PCGS registry, NGC registry, and now CAC registries should also. And let's say you're a collector and you're like, I want to sell that on eBay. What's my ID? So I can't make that tool. That is, I've thought about making that tool for 30 years,
Yeah.
and it blows my
The problem
mind.
is
Somebody should do it.
is should be and are a lot of times two different things.
Yeah.
You have these large companies that tend to have their own view on their data as well,
Yeah.
and they don't want to change.
I think the break
there
that
are,
had to come,
but
the
we're not
thing-
that way.
The
Right.
thing that had to change was that people had to realize, yes, there's value in this stuff, but there's more upside if you share it. And that
That's-
was the thing. People were
but that's a
protecting
philosophy.
everything that
Well,
they did.
I still think
and
everyone
wouldn't share it.
does.
They do.
Except we don't.
Right.
I mean, I don't
It's
know.
a different approach.
I mean, PCGS has a very, very good industry standard numbering system. However, they don't share it. So it's like you really don't make it available. Like a lot of people have figured out a way to get to it. They sort of turn a blind eye to it, like whether you use it or not. But the problem is, as you get into other categories, paper money, world coins, it's a mess.
David brings up something interesting in our chat,
Oh, good.
and he says coins and collectibles are going to have to get tokenized and put on the blockchain. Is there any interest or any thought of using that technology as maybe
Sure.
the numbering /
Well,
storage system?
I think having the index, as it were, and our pricing with the tools that we offer that way enable the blockchain, right? Because you got to start with something.
Yeah.
I mean, how does Walmart.com is here at the shelf?
Yep.
They're a new entrant. All of a sudden, they're so new. They're just like, hey, John, they called me a couple of months ago and we're thinking about this whole Walmart.com marketplace wants to get serious about being in the coin business, interestingly. And I'm like, well, that sounds good, right? We love eBay.
More the
We
merrier.
love Walmart too.
Right.
Sure.
So, but I said, guys, they don't have an index system. They don't even know what coin, like if you have an iPhone or I don't know, an app, a car,
Sure.
I don't know, whatever they sell, with the SKU numbers, they have that for, razor blades and books, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't have that for coins. So I'm like, use our numbering
UPC
system.
codes.
Use our system. I'm pushing. Use the gray sheet ID. We want everyone to use the gray sheet ID.
Mhm.
And the more people that use it, then, blockchain, is really just a digital ledger
Right.
going backwards of what anybody's at. Right? You could blockchain your shirt, right? You give that, and then the next person registers it. Now the blockchain shows two ownerships.
It's
things
like,
like
it's
that.
like a
right?
Carfax report.
Yeah. Well,
Or-
it is, and I do think for cool coins, let's say I don't know, coins of certain value. I don't know what that value
Of
is.
certain provenance or
Well,
prominence.
yeah, I mean, I don't know that we should take our 81S Morgans
Right.
or even our 1893 CCs.
Oh,
that
you
are-
got to start thinking. People are talking 1994 Lincoln cents, right? That's
but I
what
don't
they're
know
gonna-
that you should blockchain cheap things because that's an invasion of privacy, in my opinion. That's it's up to the world to
Sure.
decide.
It's a little bit too much
I don't
information.
listen. I mean, the whole reason people like to use cash is now in
Anonymity.
a digital currency is because you don't know that I was just in Baltimore buying
Right,
something if I
right.
bought it with cash.
Right.
But if I use my credit card or my Apple Pay, oh my God, you know what
Yep.
exactly.
Exactly.
Where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's. I think blockchain would be great for rarities and anything that's kind of worth knowing this provenance. Maybe Newcomb number.
Well, like I said, especially with certain coins of certain rarity, certain provenance, it's really great, and it could even go down a little bit further. But there has to be a point at which it becomes impractical.
Well, it's totally impractical to blockchain. Spending money.
Yeah.
Sure.
And sometimes and Fully Sound here also brings up a great point. Sometimes I look in other spaces to see what they're doing. And he says a collection management website like Reverb for guitars, but for coins. And Reverb is a great website for
Yeah.
guitars.
Yeah.
It allows you to do exactly that.
I don't
manage your
know. I
collection.
mean, now that you mention, I'm going to definitely look.
But I've always found myself like looking at, okay, what is
I don't know guitar. I don't
what are they doing in the card industry? What are they doing in the stamp
Looking in
market?
completely different industries.
Because they translate
I have-
quite well.
I have not yet. I'm going to definitely look up the guitar, but I have not seen anything in stamps. That's to me, that's an industry I pay enough attention to, and it should. I already have the stamp index. Like I already have numbers for all the U.S. stamps, not the world. But we are at Gray Sheet working on a collection management tool. It'll be much more rudimentary than this full-blown thing I'm talking about
Certainly.
because I don't see it as a profit center. But somebody who's good should be able to make, first of all, a web app.
It's definitely a passion project for
Put a
somebody.
phone app.
Yes.
I own this. Took a picture. I just bought it in Whitman Expo. I might even take a picture of the show that day that I bought the coin. Could be I mean, all these things that would be so interesting.
And the cool part is, even you were talking about for big coins and putting them in some sort of blockchain. Provenance is something that we've been talking about for 100 years.
Well, it
There are
makes
coins that
pricing
you can-
research so much
Well, there are
easier.
coins that you can trace back 100, 150 years because they were cataloged. And
Right.
they were shown to be here and there and in this sale and in that sale and owned by
Yeah.
these people. So if you do that with
Mhm.
modern rarities or modern coins that are rare, then it's the same thing. You can literally just build the provenance as you go.
Yeah. Well, and and another area that would really benefit from blockchain is antiquities, as you know,
Yeah.
right? Because antiquities are always now, governments change, and so what happens? The Italian government says, we have new rules about what can be sold out of our country, but now you have to prove that the coin was sold prior to the year of
1970.
1970.
1970.
And so somebody has to do that research.
Yep.
Somebody comes up, and there are incredible people in Europe that do that research for
Yes.
sure.
Absolutely.
But once they do it, that should be somehow
Well,
part of
that's
the
the thing.
blockchain.
Why would you have to do it over and over and over
Right.
again, right?
right. So now we need. So the next time, and all of that speeds up commerce, makes the industry more fluid, easier to buy and sell. Because nothing makes things harder to sell than when there's a black cloud of anything.
Yeah.
So that's why slabbing and certification have been so good for this hobby. When I joined again in '96, when it switches from '92 to '96, I'm a professional coin dealer. '96, slabbing starts for or 86, but in 90, it's all coming along, and it changed. And then the internet came along in 96.
Yep.
We have our first website. It's a big yawner. Nobody really buys things, but all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, we can sell things.
Yep.
I can be sure it wasn't switched. Nobody was taking pictures yet.
Right.
Yeah, the people that do buy stuff are people that you would have never dealt with.
People were not taking
Right.
pictures in 96 of the coins. It was like not till maybe another 5 more years where websites had pictures.
I remember CoinNet.
CoinNet.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All these great things, bulletin board systems and AOL. Look at
Yeah.
all AOL.
I
You've
used
Right.
Yahoo groups back in the day to sell.
And I was
coins.
talking about doing it on news groups before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
same
for
thing.
whatever they used to call that stuff.
Well,
on
all
AOL.
that,
Yeah.
it's all that stuff.
Right. Well, Reddit is the closest thing we have to the old days of bulletin board systems.
Yes.
And I love Reddit. I don't know if you
Reddit's awesome.
I don't know if you buy and sell coins much on Reddit. Can you? I've seen
I've never seen
r/coins.
it.
I've never seen them being bought and sold, but I know a lot of discussion happens there. So it's like when people want to know about a coin, you can go on Reddit, you can kind of ask them, and the threads go deep. I
Right.
mean, it's like people will talk about it for
Reddit is my
years.
favorite. I'm not a big social media hound, but I like Reddit. r/coins. I'll go on there and just say that's definitely counterfeit. That's the only thing I ever do.
Boy, that's tough.
Yeah,
I
they
find
get-
that very tough because you get on there when you know what you're doing and you know you're right 100%
Yeah.
and read through
And there's
it
5
and-
people that don't know what they're doing,
Right.
and they're just as sure as you
People
are.
don't know who I am there, so it's like,
That's good.
yeah.
Well, let's
I
keep
don't
it that
have-
way.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell
Probably
you.
better that way.
But I
I'm
don't-
on there too, and if people are smart, they can figure out who I am. But
I'm more like watching little great animal stories about like or the one where I had, that my dog rest in peace. Like people go there for condolences, and
Yeah.
I just
It's a
love Reddit.
community.
I know
It
there's
is
r
truly a
parts of Reddit,
community.
but I don't seek them out.
Yeah.
R
so-
slash am I overreacting?
Oh, that's
No.
my favorite. I
Not
love
at all.
R slash
AITA.
here's like 7 pages
Or
of text
AITA.
between me and my
AITA.
boyfriend, and he is horrible.
AITA. That is
AITA
my
is a good one
favorite.
too.
Yeah,
Um,
Or AMA.
AMA. Ask me anything.
Ask me
I
anything.
love AMA.
So-
I am a flight attendant. AMA.
So we it seems like is progress on the API is great. I love that. I love hearing that. That makes me happy because again, I've said this forever that knowledge is key. If you are the one with the knowledge, then you have all the answers a lot of the times as far as especially with coins go. If you can look up if you have at your fingertips a way to price a coin and look at 3 or 4 different sources even.
Mhm.
I mean,
Sure.
it just makes your life so much easier. I can walk around a show with my phone and I can tell you if a coin is priced correctly, priced incorrectly, priced too high,
Yeah.
priced too low, identified correctly, so with varieties and such. I mean,
Yeah, the closer we get to this level of perfection,
right.
the better for everybody. It's there was always an argument in the early days of technology, let's say 2000s. This too much like people not so much now, but when I first took over Gray Sheet, there was a lot of conversation about, oh, is it fair to sell Gray Sheet to non-dealers? And it's like, listen, I don't know when you become a dealer and when you're not a dealer.
Right.
So I don't want to be the police. Like, oh, you're
Right.
not a dealer. You are.
Yeah.
You sold 3 coins.
Can you
on
show me
eBay?
identification?
Right. No, thank you. But we would go out of business if we only sold to some people who
Right.
pass us. So we need to be democratic, but it only helps the hobby to give information. And if you educate your customer and you say, listen, Gray Sheet's $3,000 in this coin, I want 4,000. Well, why do you want 4? Because Gray Sheets, they're wrong. Why are they wrong? There's 3 auction records that show these are. That's fine, but at least we have a standard
And
to
an
start
intelligent
with.
conversation about how to price
That's
it.
right.
I always
but if-
tell my guys, trust yet verify, because you guys aren't perfect. Nobody is perfect when it comes to pricing coins. Stuff gets out of date. Things happen.
And so-
Auctions sell and don't get plugged in instantly. It's not a thing. And
Right.
so it's always trust yet verify.
Rule number 1 of journalism:
Yeah.
get a second source.
Well, that's right. And so when when you're on our website and you subscribe digitally, you see the price,
Yep.
and then you see auction data.
Yep.
The same auction data everybody sees.
I use that a lot.
and that's fine. And to our credit, the auction companies that participate, Heritage and Stacks, want that transparency.
Yeah.
They want people to know their numbers, and it only helps the business. They're big thinkers. These companies, those two specifically, I don't, have grown 2, 3, 4, 10-fold in the last decade.
Yep.
So being transparent with the information has not hurt them.
No.
that has been very good for them.
That's good for
And
the industry, and it's good for
I
everybody
think it
involved.
was a shift in mindset, though. I really did. I think it took a shift in mindset for people to embrace technology, to embrace information
Oh, we're still
and the information age.
shifting.
Yes.
And we talk about Europe. So on my podcast, I'll talk with Europe a lot because Europe is still not there. So Europe is like 20 years ago here. You know, the collectors, the dealers, everybody's kind of skeptical about technology. You know, they look at America as a little bit like this fast and free economy country, which we are. We are,
yeah.
but we've also managed the chaos already. You know what I mean? So we're not chaotic, but we are fast and loose.
And we
in
are
business.
test marketing a lot of it for
That's
them.
right. We are not afraid to fail. The biggest problem I think in growth in the European economies is that they're too conservative and afraid. All these, you know, they're not really supporting you as a small business person.
No.
They don't. The amount of paperwork you got to do to sell your first coin and go to a show and register your inventory and do this, you're like, forget it. I'd rather just go, you know, own a bakery.
Yeah, it's easier.
Because that's already been established. That pattern and template is there. I'll just open a bakery and that'll be fine.
So, is there anything on the horizon that you're looking forward to, or that you can share with us?
With Whitman
Whitman and Gray Sheet.
Yeah.
You know, we are doing at least 5 things right now that I consider major developments. That I don't know that they're PR worthy, but they're mostly technology based. I'm always doing technology forward. We got a new website coming at graysheet.com.
Okay.
Will be new, hopefully in a few weeks. We've got CDN Exchange, which is our dealer to dealer site. That's getting a 10-year rewrite. I have been working on that for over 10 years, rewriting it. And hopefully that'll be out because that's holding up a lot of my API work. We're feeding all the data to be easier. CDN Exchange is just kind of a way to be easier to see all this data faster.
Right.
And then, Whitman has its own website selling books, so we're trying to modernize that. We got a new website coming there, all this stuff. But, I just particularly proud for me is I just sent to the printer last week the next Mega Red. So Mega Red 10, it's not yearly as like a red book. So
Right.
it doesn't say the year, it just says the edition.
Yeah.
So Mega Red 9 was published before I took over Whitman 2 years ago. And they were like, okay, John, we just did Red Book. Now we got to do Mega Red. I said, no, thank you. I can't handle that because we're still in the process of merging the technologies to make a Red Book doable. Like, we now do all the pricing. We have our catalog information. So Mega Red, I had to do the same thing, except it's 1,300 pages. And so now the new Mega Red is at the printer. It'll be ready. I don't think it's going to be ready to be fun, but close. Let's say late January.
Okay.
The shipping, but it has no book in the history of numismatic literature has ever listed all the major die varieties in price guide form. So imagine a gray sheet or whatever, the red book with all the Overton listings, with all of the bus dime listings, the JR numbers.
And that's coming in this edition?
And we picked 100 VAMs. That's going to be in Mega Red 10.
Wow.
So Mega Red 10, we did less auction data because they had like an auction line for every coin, which was a big space filler. And we have only if an auction sold for 100,000 or more. And then we have all of these varieties. So now every Sheldon number is in there, and many of them are prized. So we're kind of in the middle of the show, so we're actually getting a lot of people asking us questions. He's upset that we didn't stop our podcast.
You have to go talk to the people right over there. They're just displayed there, sir. Right over there at Whitman. Yes.
Well, you can take it, but you shouldn't. Anyway, the fun stuff. I mean, we got to multitask here.
We got to get a sign that says "not the information desk."
Right.
I think we have to have
Right.
that.
Yeah.
We have to get Billy over here. We have to get Billy over here to protect us. How are we doing on time?
We got another 15 minutes or so, or
Okay.
we can be done whenever.
Well, do you have any questions?
I was just going to say,
Let's answer some questions.
we have a lot
let's go.
of constructive discussion, people liking what we're talking about. So that's
Okay,
always good.
well, good.
Well, we got quite a few
Simon
people here.
asked me, are you using PCUF Coinfax in the show to get immediate values, or is there a different app? Simon, I actually use John's program. I use CDN Exchange
Good answer.
at the. I do. You can see it's right here. It's my bookmark right there. I use it at the office. I use it here because it does exactly what he says. It brings up the CDN numbers, and then underneath that, it shows me if anybody has an active bid out, which means people are buying. And then underneath that, it shows me recent sales at auctions. So I can take a look at that CDN number and I say, okay, they say this coin bid $1,000. Well, the last auction was $1,150, and the one before that was $1,200. So I can say, oh, well, maybe the coin's worth a little bit more than that. Or if I look at the bid and I say, okay, this coin's bid at $1,000, but the last sale was $750, and the one before that was $800.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, maybe it's not quite worth that much.
Right.
So it's a great start. The CDN number is a great starting point. But again, like I said, trust yet verify, because you can actually make money as a dealer by looking at that number and saying, oh, that might be a little too low, and buying a coin at that number.
Yep.
That's right. We're not the end all, as you say. But, and you should use PCGS's price guide. If you're really doing your research on a coin, you should say, what's PCGS's value? What's Gray Sheet's value? What's NGC's value? How does this arbitrage into?
And sometimes you have to ask why.
Well,
is
that's
it
right.
that value?
You can't just use data point, and you can't just use data points that all come from one source. You need to find data points from different sources, because then they'll balance each other.
That's right. You should. And I got to say, so, yes, PCGS's prices are free. But first of all, something to know is that PCGS is only for PCGS coins, or it should be. And so there's a lot more things to understand about, especially if you're spending real money on coins. You should know how this all factors in.
And while CoinFacts is a great app that I recommend to people that don't want to purchase a subscription to one of these other apps,
right?
They do kind of curate some of the numbers that they show you. They don't show you every number, every auction result.
Interesting.
I've noticed that
they're not as up to date as we are.
Well,
and they're not as well. And the thing is, they're not investing the way we are. So we charge $10 a month or more. You can spend, I think, up to $200 a month on a subscription with us. We're like, we see ourselves like the little mini Bloomberg, right? But for $10, you can get access to our retail pricing, our CPG pricing, which is in the Red Book, but updated almost in real time. Every 15 minutes, if the spot price changes, we recalculate 1 million coin prices at the same time. And so that stuff we invest in. And PCGS, to their credit, is a premier grading company, but they're not a premier pricing company. That's not their role. They have their role is to provide certain kinds of information. And we try to be agnostic to, we're friendly with everybody in this business, but we try to be objective. Agnostic, that's right. We're objective is the word. We're objective about what we just want to put information and let the market and be consistent, so that you're like, why did they do that? People don't usually come to me and say we can be late pricing some things, like we don't monitor every auction in real time, but they don't usually say you went from 300 to 400 for no reason.
Right.
What's the reason?
Yeah, a lot of times if you look at the auction, you can predict, and that's what I was saying. Sometimes they're a little behind, because that way you can say, okay, bid's $1,000, but the last two sold for $1,150 and $1,200.
Right.
I can buy that coin $1,000 and make money because they're a little behind.
That's right.
That's normal. And that's fine.
I don't need to be perfect with us having monitoring like the stock market every second of every auction, because it turns it's a goal, but then you go but that doesn't really help anybody. That takes.
When does it become impractical, right? That's what you have to find that line when it's just.
I'm just trying to survive, right? I mean, like as a business owner and so on, it's like there's and I have a family and a dog, and I really, I should have started with a dog, really. But I should have led with the dog. But anyway, I mean, work-life balance.
Sure.
Team is doing a lot of great things. It's not being in the publishing business, not like being in the coin business. It's not as lucrative by any means. So we are, to some degree, a public service, like holding shows and making sure. I mean, this is really yeoman's work, right? To hold a show, you're not doing this to get rich.
As somebody that puts on a show,
you're not doing this to get rich. You're doing this to have a safe place for the industry, and everybody gets in safely, everybody leaves safely. That's a win, right?
As somebody that's putting on a show in 2 weeks from now, I know exactly what you're talking
That's right. So we do it, and we feel good about it. We get to know our friends. Sometimes there's a coin deal to be had, I'm sure. But really, you're doing it. You could do a lot of other things with your time, including woodworking.
Little. I could learn to whittle.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of things that you could do that would be productive, right? But what you're doing is is actually a service to the industry and to coin
Sure.
collecting itself.
And it's
And if
this
you
is my
happen to make some
family.
money along the way,
You guys are my family. You know, whether I mean sometimes you don't get to pick your family, right? I mean, you know,
Well, thanks.
this is my family.
You're
and,
stuck with
I got to
and
change my name now.
I have wanted to leave this family off and on for 35 years. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
and now I realize I'm never leaving this family.
No.
So
These
Yeah.
people are great.
yeah, no, I mean I and there's a lot of people here, to your point earlier, a lot of younger people I don't even know at all.
yeah, me neither. We
That's-
went to
that
the,
is so cool.
We went to the, and I'll cover that on this one. We went to the PNG Next
Next
Gen
Gen,
dinner
yeah.
last night, and that was a very interesting event. There was a ton of young people in the room. A
Yeah.
lot of them were already working for companies like Heritage and Stacks. There
Well,
were,
Heritage sponsored it,
Yeah.
so we'll give them that. But
Sure.
also, they brought half of their crews. You know, like there must have been 15 Heritage people,
Yep.
but they're all young.
Yeah,
They're
that's true.
so young, and it is so wonderful because they're getting some training over there. I can tell these are polished people.
Yes.
These are not, you know, this young lady that I was sitting next to who was in their currency department. She just graduated from Horned Frogs. What's that school? Texas.
Oh,
Texas
No,
Tech.
it's not A&M.
Texas Tech.
Texas
The
Tech,
Horn-
yeah.
right. So, and I was like, oh my God, you know, she graduates with an art degree, and now she's a consignment coordinator or whatever for paper money, and she's learning paper money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool.
It was really interesting to see all the young guys and gals. There were a couple gals there even that are in the industry, and it's encouraging
That's right.
to see.
By the way,
because-
if you know young people listening, Heritage, you know, brought their HR person to the dinner.
Yep.
So they sponsored the dinner to mentor young people and say, look, this is how you do business with Heritage, and you know, don't be intimidated by us. We want young people to get through the doors here. But then also the then the HR director is actually walking
Yeah, I
right
was
there in
gonna
front
say,
of us.
she's right
She's right here.
here.
There she is.
She's like, hey, we're here hiring, by the way. Talk to me. So it's just cool. I mean, I've not seen that in this little cottage business we call numismatics.
I think
Contact Heritage. I'm sure everybody, you know, the big companies are hiring.
I think technology is actually bringing us together closer
Sure.
as a group,
Sure.
and
It's
that
just like the folks that are watching this. They can't be here, so we take here to them.
Yeah.
And that's why
Yeah.
I've really
We're bringing
You know,
you-
that's why.
bringing
So thank
you
you,
to them.
thank you.
Hey.
We should probably wrap up, but thank you for having me on the program.
No, thank you for having
and not
us.
Thank you
losing
for
the
having
memory
us.
card because you did interview me
The first time I interviewed John, and I have never
Lost the
admitted this
memory
to
card.
anybody except for John.
I will
is-
never let you forget it.
No, I didn't lose the memory card. The file got corrupted. I was in there.
Same
I had it in
difference.
there,
Yeah.
and
well,
I
now
took it
you've had
out.
No, I
something
know.
happen every
Look,
time. Now I've got one.
That's the fear of all of this.
I took
is
it out
that-
and put it in the computer, and it said, "Nope, sorry,
One of the
friend."
greatest things about live streaming is we don't have to worry
That's
about that
right. That's
anymore.
right. That's a big. Because
Yes.
I do podcasts, as you know, and it's like
Yep.
you hit that record now, and you're like, what if Zoom doesn't send me the link?
Yeah,
What if it
Yep.
doesn't come? What if Jeff Garrett and I did a podcast with Fred Weinberg and John Sullivan, and that's on errors.
sure.
And we did it. You saw the final, but the first time we recorded a whole episode, and it got lost.
That's happened.
Oh, you know what happened was this was on Zoom, and Zoom never warned us, but Zoom didn't record Fred Weinberg. So the whole time
Yeah.
he's not. It's like there wasn't even a screen for him.
Yeah, and then all of a
And
sudden you guys do this
the
whole
tech
show,
is-
and you get done. You're like, "All right, that was great." And
Yeah.
then you look at it, you're
And
like,
so
"Oh,
I was like,
no."
Jeff, you're doing the next one without me.
And there's absolutely nothing worse than having to do
Oh.
something over because
Right.
you're never going to recapture
It's
that.
like writing that final exam essay in college, and then they lost it. And you have to redo it. And you're like,
Well,
no, I can't.
No, that mine was perfect.
But the
It was-
second version is usually always better, but it just stinks.
It looks like
Yeah.
the chat loved it. David said, "Guys, this was such a great experience. It's an honor to be here." Hey, you know what? Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, we
gotta
appreciate you
go,
all.
though.
Thank
John's
you.
got stuff
And
to do.
please,
John's
please
got
check
stuff to
out
do.
my podcast.
Yeah.
Can I shameless plug
No,
myself?
go for it.
All right,
No,
so
go
we
for
have. I don't remember exactly. It's like Gray Sheet. What is it called? Gray Sheet.
Gray Sheet Podcast.
Whitman or something. Gray Sheet Podcast. If you Google us, you'll find our podcast
Yep.
somehow.
And it's you and Jeff Garrett, right?
Jeff and I do a Red Book podcast.
Red Book Podcast.
I do a Gray Sheet Market report, and what I
Okay.
do is I get random people that I don't think quite fit the tone of the Red Book. So
Okay.
like I have this woman Ursula Kampmann, for example. She's now done 3 with me. The third one's coming next week, where we talk about European market. She has
Somebody
that
asked a
perspective.
question about that earlier too in the chat, the European market. So go check out that.
So check out my things. But I'll talk to. I have John Kralovich. I interviewed him Monday with the about the $1804. So that we're hoping to post today or Monday, the latest, the JK podcast with me. So
Fun. Well, guys, go check that out.
John's a riot no matter where he
you know
is.
what? He's slow hanging fruit in the
It's
podcast
just-
circuit.
It was just
You
something.
don't even have to prep. He just like sits
No, he
down.
just-
Well, guys, coming up next, we have John Feigenbaum. No.
The real,
yeah,
the real
he's-
John
he's-
Albanese. The real John
the
Albanese.
real
is
John
next.
Albanese.
Hey,
Yes.
thank you so much, and we
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
We'll see you
John
guys in just a few
Feigenbaum.
more minutes.
Thank
Hang
you
out.
so much for joining us.
Awesome.
Thanks for putting this
Thank
up.
you.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Thank you.
And
Cheers, everybody. Thanks
we
for,
love having
thanks
you
for
by.
watching.